Africa.
The time is just gone 10 minutes past 6, 10 minutes past 4 on Salam Media on the Iftar Drive. And we are now going across to be joined by a veteran journalist, Abbey Makoe. We are talking about Israel and a piece that was written by Abbey Makoe talking about Israel's brutal, illegal occupation of Palestine that must be ended, and also comparing apartheid Israel to South African apartheid, saying that the South African apartheid was a picnic by comparison to the brutality that has been meted out by this Zionist regime. And right now, straight across, we're joined by Abbey Makoe. Abbey, good afternoon to you, and welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. Good afternoon to our listeners.
Yes, Abby. I wrote. In fact, I was listening to a number of people regarding the whole question of Palestine in the last few days, the last week or so, and then you wrote this opinion piece, which actually caught my eye, and just talking about this piece about how heartbreaking a week it has been, and at the same time saying it has been characterized by apartheid Israel's, the storming of the mosque during Islam's holiest month and this month of Ramadan. And you speak a lot about this sheer brutality and disregard for human rights.
That's correct. I think, you sort of recapped it quite well for the listeners who might not have come across the piece that I penned. But what really distresses me most about the situation in Palestine is not really what Israel is doing to Palestine. What really breaks my heart is the response of the international community to what's happening. It's sort of pretending day by day that everything is honky-dory, everything is normal. That what Israel is doing is not short of deserving of total condemnation by the global community. That really is what strikes me as confirmation that our geopolitics are nothing else but just a game of mischief and criminality run by the global north, characterized by nations that are well off, rich, wealthy, militarily and otherwise. And from that point of view, I worry a lot about global organizations such as the Arab League, the AU, your Latin America, and in fact, the entire global South, for me, is guilty by omission or commission in the annihilation and almost the extinguishment of Palestine and the Palestinian people. That breaks my heart so much because I was born and bred in South Africa, that apartheid South Africa. And when I look at what's happening in Palestine and describing it comparatively as, making a mockery of what we went through in South Africa at the height of apartheid. And I'm not saying by any means to belittle or downplay the horrors of apartheid South Africa. But when you look at what we went through and what the Palestinian people, men, women, and children, all because they are Palestinians, are going through since 1967, for that matter, I think it leaves much to be desired by anyone in the international community who claim to be civil, who claim to be some kind of a moral compass of the right and wrongs that, of course, creeps in the international order. So the Palestinian people, I see, they are the special case for me, and I think for many people. I know the late Archbishop Desmond Tutu really fought hard to highlight their plight. But what the Israelites and what they're doing, the Jewish state of Israel, what they're doing to Palestine, as I say, it's not so much, the worry of my heart and mind. My worry is the response of the international community behaving as if we are not living through this modern day, I don't know what adjective one can still use to describe what's happening in Palestine, because it is the worst. I don't think there's any worse thing in world history that is worse than the sufferings of the people of Palestine.
Exactly. But also, Abby, you articulate this thing very, very well in your article, where you also talk about a group like Hamas, and in terms of the warped logic of the United States and the West, that Hamas does not wish for Israel to exist. But again, you make the point that from day one, this illegal occupying force with Palestine has gone back to, we can go back to 1967. Hamas was only formed in 1987, and until now, we've seen the brutality of the Israeli Defense Force manifest itself in more days than one, and nobody is holding Israel accountable. Yet they are buying this narrative that is coming through from Israel, from people like Benjamin Netanyahu. And this is exactly what the West is saying. They are echoing the sentiments of what Israel is saying, rather than condemning them.
My point exactly. Here's the situation about Hamas. Hamas was only born, in 87, and the illegal occupation of Palestine has been with us since 1967. So you can see that even basic logic tells you that Hamas was born out of the belief of the Palestine people, or at least a section of the Palestine population, that believe that, a peaceful negotiation, a protest that was within the confines of the laws of the occupying regime, which is the Jewish state, was no longer actually something to live by. I mean, Hamas came into being and adopted this hardline stance, believing that the new generation of the Palestine people must actually take up arms against this occupying force, where actually there was no light at the end of the tunnel. There was nothing on the horizon to suggest that Israel was willing to let the Palestinian people exist like the rest of the world should exist. So Hamas is just an example for me of basically a desperate cry by a people to say to the world, hear us out. We are in this situation and we need to exhale. We need a way out. So it's not as if I don't believe Hamas deep down their heart do not want Israel to exist. I just think that has been blown way to suit the agenda and the narrative of the occupiers of Palestine, illegal occupiers of Palestine. I think if you put Hamas in a room and make them to engage, I think they will engage logically. But I don't think that the occupying force in Palestine is willing to live up to their undertaking to agree to the two-state solution. And I don't think that as long as the Israelites have the guarantee of the economy, of the military, of the United States veto in the United Nations Security Council, when no resolution can be passed against Israel, because the United States is going to veto it for sure, then you can see the impunity with which Israel is behaving in Palestine. And that's why I want to say Israel, for me, is just the one part of the debate, of the argument. The main point for me is the silence of the international community, which claims, and the global south in particular, and I'm starting with the Arab League and the AU, I mean, the AU only the other last year and until early this year, they have given Israel some observer status at the AU in Addis Ababa. And by wrong means, because when South Africa and other nations protested, ultimately, that privilege was withdrawn. And we know it's in public domain that Israel is blaming South Africa for that. But South Africa should actually, rather, South Africa should be a country that is screaming all by itself to the rest of the world to say the Palestine people deserve to have a peaceful day on this earth without Israelites extinguishing them. And that's my argument. And as I fully support the foreign policy of South Africa insofar as Palestine is concerned. I really do. And I think our government is showing the world how to behave responsibly and with a moral compass and moral uprightness. I think we are doing too well as a country. It's pity the rest of the world is not following on South Africa's example. But finally, my view is one would expect that the global north, led by the United States, the Western Europe, especially your Canada, your Australia, and your New Zealand, the usual suspect. For me, it's understandable that they will go behind the United States foreign policy towards Palestine and just pay lip service by saying when the Palestine children throw stones and the Israelites unleashes bombs in Palestine, the United States will say the skirmishes between the two sides. I mean, that's not the skirmish. The one side is being extinguished. Is being annihilated, and that's a fact. So the fact that you have an elephant fighting against an ant, and you are calling that a battle of equals. That's so wrong. That's so disingenuous. And I think it must be called out for what it is. Israel should be condemned. And not because anyone hates Israel, but because we are hating the deed of oppressing your fellow beings, your neighbors. I mean, that's my point really about the article. I don't want anybody coming back to me saying I'm against Israel or it's anti-Semite or all that kind of claptrap, because I'm far from those kind of things. I'm only looking at the geopolitics as they are, and I know, being born in South Africa during apartheid and having grown in it, I know what the Palestinian people are going through. We can see with the advantage of technology that those people in Palestine are going through hell on earth, and the world is keeping quiet about that. The global north can keep quiet. We expect them to do that. They are our former colonizers. But as for the global south, I am deeply disappointed that the global south is quiet, as if they don't see what's happening. When they themselves, most countries, most nations of the global south, are themselves former colonies of the Western imperialists.
Well, Abbey, I must say, you've called them out very, very well in this article. And, we need people like yourselves, and without being, labeled as anti-Semitic. And I think a lot of people, in fact, sometimes, it's so easy to attach labels, but this is an issue. This is an issue about speaking out against injustice perpetrated against innocent victims, innocent people. And this is exactly what it is. And this is exactly what we do here at Salam Media as well, in terms of calling out, because we are into humanitarian journalism. We care for humanity at large, and it is not only about politics. It's not about being racist, and it is not about a certain nation. Injustice, no matter where it is, who perpetrates it, who commits it, no matter where, in any part of the world. Abbey, thank you very much for taking time out this afternoon and being part of our broadcast right here on Salam Media. We wish you all the best. Take care.
Thank you so much. You're welcome.
Abbey Makoe, veteran journalist with us this afternoon, and with that we're going to go for a break. We're heading for the Asr Azan as well at around 4:30, and after the Asr Azan we will continue with the broadcast from now right until the time of Iftar in Johannesburg.
And I think the important thing is also just to take a moment and say, yes, this is about being Muslim, but for the bigger, greater picture, is for people to understand that this isn't really a Jewish-Muslim drama that's unfolding. It's really it's a Zionist regime that is actively persecuting and committing acts of genocide against Palestinians, and to understand that you can be a Zionist without being a Jew, and that to criticize Zionism is not anti-Semitism. And the important issue, like I said, is just this, that Israel, there's no accountability. I mean, I was quite happy to see the, when the Israeli ambassador or diplomat was removed from the AU. I think South Africa has a very big role to play in being in solidarity with Palestinians. And quite interestingly, when I was stopped outside, before entering Al-Aqsa compound, soldiers would ask me, where am I from? And when I said South Africa, they were almost apologetic, like, sorry for asking, go ahead, do your thing. So that is why I'm saying, this visiting Palestine, it's very important to be there and show that you're going to come, because they want to create an atmosphere of fear. One of the other things we did when we were there is visit Ramallah after Tarawih one night. And to me, I had witnessed the most absurd, bizarre thing ever, and we had joked about it with our Palestinian friends. Because at one of the checkpoints, it's such a sophisticated kind of apartheid. It's definitely worse than what we experienced. But it's also sophisticated and very insidious. So the one of the checkpoints were actually decorated with beautiful lights, down lights at the checkpoint. I mean, if a journalist or the media that pushes an agenda of a friendly, democratic Israel wants to do a story, they can easily say, look at what Israel is doing for the Palestinians, wishing them a happy Ramadan. And we had said to our Palestinian friends, you should say donkey boss, because you're being very grateful. These Israelis are actually, welcoming you and making these checkpoints so beautiful. But I mean, we were joking about it, and it was just a moment of laughter, among the most bizarre, cruel thing you could possibly do. But I think, that was, I mean, I could never have imagined seeing that. So seeing it was really something for me.
Want to make a real impact this Ramadan?